Yeah, good morning, all of you. Welcome to this course on Docker and Kubernetes. I hope you have all attended demo session of Docker. We have seen what was the problem that the software industry was facing before the invention of the container technology. Okay, we have also seen how the shipping industry came up with the idea of containers in order to solve the issues that we have discussed, right? So likewise, let me brief it what container says. Earlier, we have an hardware. In that hardware, what we do, we will install some operating system. In order to have Linux environment within the same hardware where our Windows operating system is installed, what we do, we will install hypervisor. What hypervisor will allow us to do? Hypervisor will enable us to install a guest operating system on top of the host operating system. Let's say our host operating system may be Windows. So if we install hypervisor, using this hypervisor, we can also install Linux distribution like Ubuntu or Red Hat or whatever it may be. Okay. So for example, we can install Linux machine. Let's say a developer is developing a source code for the particular application, let's say Java application. Okay, I'm just telling what we have discussed. So let's say a developer has developed source code for this particular application A. What is happening here is in this setup, the developer can Aditya, you're asking, is this the first class? Yes, this is the first class, but some introduction class was ordered. That was a demo class, I mean workshop. In that also I said something like an introduction class, but that's fine. Okay. In this setup, developer will develop the source code for application A. Okay, this application A will be successfully running in his machine because the required dependencies are already installed in this. Okay, on top of this guest operating system, what he will do, he will install the required binaries and the libraries. For example, if it is a Java application, he has to install Java. So what will happen after that? He will slowly develop his source code and he will test it in his own machine. Okay, then after this, we have version control system or source code management like GitHub or Azure repos or Bitbucket. In this case, these people will push the code to this SCM or source code management or repos. After that, it has to be deployed into the QA environment. Let's say this is the dev environment itself and it is successfully running here. It has to be deployed into QA environment. In this QA environment, in order to run this application A, we have to install required operating system and required libraries and binaries. I mean to say this is, let's say this is a hardware. We have to install the operating system. Okay, we have to do that. After that, we have to install the dependencies. What we have seen, the operating system that is installed in the QA environment may be different from that of the dev environment. Or if the operating system is same, let's say if it is Ubuntu 18, if they install Ubuntu 20, in that case also application A may fail to run here. And along with that, we have to install the dependencies for sure. The dependencies that we install in the QA environment are may be different from that of the binaries that are installed in this dev environment. In that case also, there is a possibility for the application to be failed in the QA environment. In that case, there will be a fighting will happen between the QA people and dev people. Dev people will say that they will show the application which is successfully running in their machine, and they will say that QA people have the problem in their environment. how to resolve this conflict. Okay, so how to resolve those conflict? In order to resolve this conflict, we should have a mechanism where we will able to transfer the application A along with its dependencies from the dev machine to the dev machine to QA machine. Okay, we will store this somewhere and then we will deploy this into the QA environment. So here the dependencies, same dependencies we have copied from dev to QA, so there won't be any conflict between the environment changes. Okay, definitely operating system can also be different. Here the operating system now can be Windows. Okay, we don't have any problem, only the Docker has to be installed. This kind of thing is called as what? Containers. Once we are containerizing the application means we are packaging up the source code along with its dependencies and we are packing them together and we are shipping this from the dev environment to the some central server where we will store our Docker images there. From that Docker image, we will take the Docker image and download into QA environment. We will run that. What is happening here? We acquired the same libraries from here to here. So where is the conflict? There is no conflict. The only requirement for the QA machine is it should have Docker installed in it. That is the only requirement. Okay, so once the QA people have tested the application, then we can move that application to the staging environment or the product environment successfully. This is how Docker eliminated the need for full-fledged operating system. Okay, we just have to install, we just have to run the containers. These containers will use the underlying operating system. If it is Linux, if it is Windows, we have to install Windows subsystem for Linux because these containers are Linux based containers, right? We have seen that. Okay, that is fine. Now let's understand the terminologies which are associated with this Docker. Now here, okay, now let me write here itself. Docker is a containerization tool. Containerization tool. Many people, when they asked in the interview, what is Docker, what is the difference between Docker and Kubernetes? It is very sad that they are not able to even understand the difference between Docker and Kubernetes. Very sad. Docker is a containerization tool. That means it's a container making tool. We will create the Docker, we will create the containers using Docker. Okay, that is containerization tool. And it is open source. Open source means there are no charges for using Docker. Then Docker image. Docker image is nothing but this application A along with its dependencies like binaries and libraries, together we call them as the dependencies. Application source code along with the dependencies is called as what? Docker image. So we will bundle this together. What Docker technology will do? Docker technology will package this application along with this libraries. Okay, that is called as Docker image. So this Docker image has to be stored in some central server. Okay, for example, we are storing the application source code in GitHub or Bitbucket. What are those called? Those are called version control systems or source code management tools. Okay, are the repositories like that? Container registry, uh, container registry. Let's say registry as of now because I did not introduce you to the concept of registry means server, central server where Docker images are stored. Okay, This is called as what? Registry. Okay, generally it is called as container registry more specifically. Then what is container? These images we are generating, we are creating using Docker, and they are being stored in some central server called as the registries. Then we have to download that image into the some QA environment or some other machine. We have to run that file. We have to run that Docker image. When the Docker image came into running state, then it is called as the container, as simple as that. Container means what? Runnable instance of Docker image is called as what? Container. Very simple. This Docker image is a package, or it's a bundle, or we can think of like a zip file. It's not zip file. It's we are zipping the application along with its dependencies. This is called as Docker image. We will store those Docker images into the container registry. Okay, by default, container registry server is hub.docker.com. Okay, we will store our images into this hub.docker.com. But in real time, what we will do, we will have our own private registries like Harbor, Azure Container Registry, ACR, or Elastic Container Registry, ECR. We will see that practically. So we have this application, we have this Docker image stored in this hub.docker.com. We will download that into QA machine. The file will be downloaded. We have to run it just using Docker run command. If we use that, container will be created from that image. Then that is called as what? Container. Container is nothing but what? The running instance of Docker image is called as container, right? Then other thing is Docker CLI. Docker client. Docker client means how can we interact with the Docker engine with some command line interface, that is called as what? Docker CLI. How to install all these things we will see. By default, when we install Docker in our machine, by default Docker CLI will also be installed. We no need to explicitly install this Docker CLI. That's fine, right? Then after that, you can read this documentation. Docker images, Docker containers, Docker host. Docker host is nothing but Docker host. You no need to write all these notes. Okay, don't waste your energy and time. I will share my entire notes to you. Docker host means the machine in which Docker is installed is called as what? Docker host. Let's suppose that this is my Windows machine. If I install Docker desktop in this, then my Windows machine, we can call it as Docker host because it is hosting the Docker. If you have the Linux machine, whether it can be in AWS or Azure or GCP or in your on-prem, in your local laptop, if you install Docker in those virtual machines, then that machine we can call it as Docker host because it is becoming host for Docker, right? That is one thing. Docker client, nothing but the Docker CLI. We will see that. See, this is the Docker host. Docker host is nothing but the Linux machine where we install the Docker. Then client is Docker command line. Docker command line is Docker client. Then registry is nothing but the place where we will store our Docker images. Ubuntu images are there, Nginx images are there, some other applications are also there. Okay, we will see all these commands. Don't worry about that. See, we will download the images into from registry to our Docker host machine. After that, we will run this image. Then that runnable instance will become what? Container, right? This is okay. Now let's see few of the. Now let's install Docker first. Okay, so how to do that? I don't want to install Docker in my Windows machine because I want to give it the real-time exposure. So what we do in projects, we generally hire our machines in AWS or Azure cloud. So AWS is very, very popular. Okay, nothing to deny that. aws.amazon.com. I have to log into AWS Management Console. I should have account already. How to create AWS account? As simple as creating Gmail. But in addition, you should have debit card or credit card with international transactions enabled. If your international transactions are not enabled for your debit card, you have to consult your concerned branch, right? Now, Now I am into AWS Management Console. The people who already knows all these things may be feeling bored, but I know many of you have may not be having idea about the cloud. So go to services, EC2, Elastic Compute Cloud. Okay, those people who don't have the knowledge of EC2 instance in AWS, for those I'm telling that also I'm telling very briefly. So go to instances. As of now, I'm in Mumbai region. For me, there are no machines in Mumbai region. Then click on launch instance. Then so please opt out for old experience, because this new experience people may be confused because they might have already learned the old experience. So I want to be remain in the old experience. Only the UI will change, options will be the same. Now I want to take Ubuntu. Out of Ubuntu, I want to choose Ubuntu 18 operating system, which is very stable version, and it is tier eligible. Select. Then t2.micro is sufficient for the Docker. Okay, so I'm choosing this. If you want to run multiple containers, I mean very hundreds of tens of containers, then you have to choose a higher version. But for our learning and for real time also, this is enough, because we may not be running more instances, right? So you can keep network settings and other things by default. Okay, so I want to only have one instance. Then click on next, add storage. Very simple. This 8 GB disk space is enough for us. Then click on add tags. Here let's name it as name equals to Docker host. Okay, it doesn't mean that you have to name like this. You don't need to give the name also, that's fine. Somebody's asking some question. We don't know anything about AWS. You are going so fast. Okay, Manideep, the thing is that you can install this in Windows as well. So please, this is very simple steps. Okay, what we have to do, you can watch this video again, or for you, I'm repeating, because this is out of scope of this Docker. So I'm just going a little bit faster in creating AWS instance. Okay, no worries. I will try to explain this again. First, we have to, that's what I recommend. Everybody, please learn at least a cloud. Many people are trying to learn DevOps without having some cloud knowledge, but here AWS knowledge is not much required. But if you want to learn other tools, some cloud knowledge is enough. If the thing is that you should have some Ubuntu machine or the Windows machine. In real time, we will be using AWS, right? So that's why I'm using this AWS. Okay. So now go to services EC2. Go to instances. Sometimes the console will be somewhat slow. Go to instances. Yes, Aditya is asking, is creating instance knowledge sufficient for this course? Yes, sufficient, because we are creating this EC2 instance just to install the Docker. After that, we won't be using this AWS. Okay, then click on launch instances. Okay, opt out to the old experience. Sujit is asking, first let's learn this. Okay, opt out to the old experience, then search for which kind of operating system you want to have for your virtual machine. I want to have Ubuntu operating system. Search for Ubuntu. we will get the different versions of the Ubuntu 22, Ubuntu 20. Okay, and I want to choose Ubuntu Server 18.04 long-term support. Select this. I will attend your questions after a few minutes. Let's complete this EC2 creation. Then choose your instance type. As of now, for practice or learning, T2.micro is enough. Okay, but for productions, we will be using higher versions, right, in real time. Okay, then, but that doesn't make any difference. Only our CPU and memory will differ. Okay, from real time to here, everything is same. Choose this, configure instance details. Okay, keep everything default, then click on add storage. How much storage you want? 8 GB is enough for me, so keep that as default. Add tags. Okay, skip these tags if you confuse. Then configure security group. That means security group means like a firewall. Aditya is asking, sorry to disturb in middle as this is my first class. Can you just explain the need of Dockerization with a simple real-time non-technical example after this instance creation? Yes, Aditya, I will do that. In security group, we have to allow the ports for incoming. So as of now, yard rule, let's allow all traffic to our instance. This is our EC2 instance. This is instance. Okay, so which port you want to open? Let's assume that let's open all the traffic. Choose anywhere. The traffic can be from any IP address. Then review and launch. Just you have to review your settings. If it is fine, then click on launch. After that, if you don't have key pair existing, create a new key pair. Choose RSA algorithm. Key pair name is, let's say, Docker host. You can name whatever you want, but remember, just to remember the key pair name, I am using the Docker host because I want to install the Docker in this. You can use my key pair also. People will be maybe confused something like it should be like Docker host. No, okay, you can give any name. Download key pair. Docker host is already exist, right? So let's say Docker KP. Let's use this name. Download this key pair. This will be installed, downloaded into our downloads folder. Then launch instances. Your instances are now launching. Now scroll down and click on view instances. See, it is in pending state. For this virtual machines to be up, it will take 2 to 3 minutes. Let's wait for that. Meanwhile, I will attend your questions. Sajid is asking 8 GB storage is enough for Ubuntu and Docker. Yes, that is more than enough. Okay, and somebody is asking, right? Aditya is asking, what is the need for Dockerization? I have explained in the yesterday's demo. See, this is the Dockerized environment. This is the non-Dockerized environment. Here, let's say you want to run your application in some Linux machine, okay, but you have Windows in your machine. In order to get the Linux machine in the same hardware, what we have to do? We have to install hypervisor in our Windows host. Okay, so this is called as the host operating system. That is our Windows operating system. Just to make the difference, we are calling it as the host operating system. Okay, for example, this is my Windows machine. I have installed Windows in this. Okay, that's why it is called as the Windows machine. My project requirement is the developer needs Ubuntu machine. In that case, what I have to do? I have to buy a new hardware, new laptop, and install Ubuntu in that. Okay, that is one possibility. Next possibility is because my hardware is very enough to uh, it has enough resources after installing this operating system. Let's say it is 32 GB RAM. Okay, so I'm just utilizing 4 GB RAM. Still, we have about 28 GB of memory left in our host hardware. So what I'm trying to do, is there any way to create Ubuntu machine? Yes. How to do that? We have to install hypervisor. After installing the hypervisor, this hypervisor will enable us to create this Ubuntu operating system. This Ubuntu operating system is called as now the guest operating system. Why? This is host. We are installing it as a guest. Okay, this is called as the guest operating system. Then the developer will we will install these libraries and the dependencies, and the developer will develop his application. Okay, he will install the required dependencies and it will be done. In this case, what happens? Only the application source code can be pushed to the repo, and in order to deploy this application source code into the QA environment and prod environment, how to execute this application source code? We have to install the required libraries here as well. We have to build the application into artifact, that is different story. We have to get the same environment here as well. What if this entire operating system is Windows, or even if it is Ubuntu? What if this version is different from here? If the two operating system versions are same, what if these libraries are different from here to here? The application will fail to run here. Okay, so what I want to do, instead of installing the dependencies afresh here, I want to get the same environment of that of the dev to this QA environment to that to the prod environment. How to achieve that? We will containerize this application. When we are containerizing this application, how to achieve the containerization? Using Docker. People are asking some questions. I will attend your questions. Let me complete this. So what we are doing here, we are just installing the Docker. We are not installing the guest operating system. These containers will use the underlying operating system, that is Linux. It will be uniform for all these containers. And we are packaging application along with the libraries. Okay. And we are able to push it to some central server. So from here to here, difference is here only application source code has been deployed into the QA environment. Here, along with the application, we are also getting the same environment, that is libraries and binaries from here to here. And we should install Docker also, so that the same environment we will be using from here to here. So there is no chance of application to be failed in the other environments, because we are getting the same libraries, same versions. Okay, this is the advantage of the containers, and we can run multiple containers. Okay, here we have the guest operating system, but we don't have guest operating system. Here we have eliminated the need for installing the full-fledged operating system. Instead, you may be having 10 containers. These 10 containers will be using underlying operating system. But if you want to have 10 applications here to be running 10 different virtual machines, we have to install 10 guest operating system. Okay, and each operating system has a full-fledged operating system. So that itself will consume lot of our system resources like CPU and memory. Okay, here we don't have that problem. So these virtual machines will be utilizing the underlying kernel, and they will be utilizing the underlying hardware resources. Here we have to dedicate the resources upfront. For example, if you want to create this virtual machine using hypervisor, we have to set aside some amount of CPU and memory for this virtual machine, and that can't be utilized by the other virtual machines. But here we don't need to allocate dedicatedly upfront CPU and memory. Okay, that is the difference from here to here. Now let me. Are we also moving the guest operating system? Sujit, we are not moving the guest operating system. The guest operating system, there is no need for the guest operating system. Instead, these containers will be using the underlying operating system. Okay, that is. Docker technology is same in Azure, AWS, and JB everywhere. Docker is same. Only the installation. In Azure, we will create the EC2 machine and we will install Docker in that. In Azure, we call it as virtual machine. In AWS, we will call it as what? EC2 instance. Just creation of the EC2 instance or the virtual machine differs. That is also same, right? No much difference. Okay, installation of the Docker and everything is same everywhere. The Docker commands and everywhere, that is same. Okay. Now let's install Docker. So our EC2 instance is successfully running. Status, health checks are also passed. Let's edit this name. Now let's name it as a Docker host. Okay, because the machine in which we install Docker is called as the Docker host. You can name Docker also, not just Docker, or you can name Ubuntu also. Some people maybe are thinking like we should name it as a Docker host. No. Okay, now let's say Ubuntu machine. But for more meaningful, what you will be having in real time, you will be having multiple machines, right? For Jenkins, you will be having, for Sonar, for different things, you will be having different machines. So meaningfully, we can give like Docker host so that you will be reckoning. If you have multiple Docker hosts, you can name accordingly. Aditya is asking what are the prerequisites for learning Docker and Kubernetes. Okay, no prerequisite required, but good to have Linux knowledge, but that is also not required. We will see those commands here itself. But Docker, there is no prerequisite. For Kubernetes, the prerequisite is Docker. Without learning Docker, you can't learn Kubernetes because Kubernetes is container orchestration tool. Okay, fine. Now let's connect to this virtual machine. How to connect to this? I will take up your questions at the end, guys. Let's proceed with this. Open this, click on this instance ID, and there are different tools. There are different SSH clients to connect with the Linux machines. And I recommend you to install MobaXterm. MobaXterm. How to install MobaXterm? I will give in our class notes. Okay. Or else you just have to search for MobaXterm download. Okay. Click on this first link. Click on this download now. Click on this portable edition. See, it will be downloaded. After this, unzip this. After unzipping, you will be having MobaXterm executable file. Just you have to double click on that. Okay, so that exe file, if you double click on that, you will be getting this. Very simple. See what this MobaXterm is. This is, it will act as an SSH client to connect with the remote machines. Okay, I am in my Windows machine. How to connect to this Ubuntu machine? For that, we have to have some SSH client. Okay, copy the public IP address of this instance. Open this. Click on session. Click on SSH. Remote host means the public IP address of that virtual machine. I want to specify the username. What is the username for this machine? For that, click on this instance ID. Click on connect. Okay, so if you click on connect, EC2 instance connect details. So public IP address is this, username is Ubuntu. Copy that username here, Ubuntu. Port is for SSH, port is 22. Click on advanced SSH settings. Okay, use private key. What is this private key? Private key will act as the password to this virtual machine. Where that private key is there? When we are launching this EC2 instance, we have created a private key, new key, and we named that key as what? Go to downloads folder. Okay, here if you see Docker KP, this is our PEM key. If you use the putty kind of thing, you have to convert this PEM to PPK file, but if you use the MobaXterm, you can directly use this PEM file. Okay, so now click on use private key, click on this browse option, where that key is located. That is located in our downloads folder. Click on that, select this, okay, Docker KP, okay, it will be selecting. After that, you just have to click on OK. What will happen? See, now we have connected to the Linux machine. We have connected to the Linux machine. What is the other advantage of this MobileXterm? You can browse the this Linux machines of file directory here. Okay, directory structure here. Okay, this facility is not available in Putty kind of things, but people will teach time and again Putty only. I don't know the reason. The MobileXterm is very good. This is our Ubuntu machines. How to list out the files? ls. We don't have any files in Ubuntu home directory. Now, how to install Docker in this? Now we have connected to this EC2 machine. Okay, how to install Docker in this? Just go to our documentation. No need to search anywhere in the browser. Okay, create Ubuntu machine on AWS. Okay, for a MobileXterm also I have given the link here. Then go to root account. How to do that? Switch to root account using this command. People who don't know the Linux, we are just we are logging as the administrator user. Okay, in Windows it is called as the administrator. In Linux we call it as root user. Just enter. See, prompt has changed to Ubuntu user to the root user, right? So that we will get all the privileges to install the softwares in this. After that, what we have to do? This curl is to download the remote files. Copy this link. It will download the shell script which is required to the Docker. See, this we have downloaded with this curl command. Then what we have to do is just execute the shell script. How to do that? sh, okay, sh and this file name sh get docker. What is happening now? Docker will be installed. Will take 3 to 4 minutes for the Docker to be installed. We are installing Docker in our Ubuntu machine. Our Ubuntu machine is located in AWS cloud in Mumbai region. Right, in one of the data centers of the Mumbai region, we have created our AWS instance with Ubuntu 18 operating system, and we are installing the Docker in that Ubuntu machine. So once we install the Docker in that Ubuntu machine, then we call that machine as the Docker host. See what happened? Docker has been installed. The versions and everything is displayed. To run Docker as a non-privileged user, so these instructions are given. Okay, don't worry about all those things. See, official documentation of the Docker is also given here. docs.docker.com. docs.docker.com. This is the official documentation for Docker. Okay. Okay, but you don't need to go through that. Then what we will do? We can check the version of the Docker using this command. So this is installed, right? Now, how do we ensure that Docker is installed? With -- Docker version, we will be checking that with this command Docker -- version. So in order to clear the window, clear. Then, if you just type Docker, see what will happen. If you see this, Docker client is by default it is installed. Okay, Docker client is nothing but Docker command line interface. What does it mean? In order to interact with the Docker, we should have the command line, right? So for this, these are all the commands related to the Docker. We will learn all these commands. Okay. Now Now, in order to list out the Docker images that are downloaded into our Docker host machine, we have the command called Docker image ls. I want to list out the images. See, there are no images. What is Docker image? Again, Docker image is nothing but what? Application along with the source code. Okay, where these Docker images will be stored? They will be stored in the some remote server. By default, it is hub.docker.com. Let's go to the hub.docker.com. Hub.docker.com. See, this is hub.docker.com where public Docker images will be stored. We will understand what is public image, what is private image later. Search for some greater content. Let's say Nginx application is there. See, this is the Docker official image. For example, if you want to run Jenkins in a container environment, Jenkins, this is a Jenkins Jenkins official image. So this is deprecated. Instead, it is telling to you Jenkins is the Docker official image. Now, so these applications already containerized and they are stored in the form of Docker images. We can use this. So somebody is asking, what's the different in the chat box I have seen, what's the difference, what is the use of the Dockerization? I have explained in that theory. Now, let's say that in order to install Jenkins, what we have to do if it is not a Dockerized environment, I have said that in the demo also. Let me demo in the sense in the free seminar I have told that installing Jenkins in Ubuntu. If you type this, by default you will be taking to the official Jenkins image. Let's go to the official. So see what we have to do. In order to install Jenkins, you have to do all these steps. Okay, no doubt that we should have the Linux machine, and Jenkins is a Java based application. You need to install Java, JDK, JRE, all these things you have to install. After that time, you have to execute all these steps. Okay, so for this, we should have particular version of the Java. Okay, all these things we have to have. These are the steps. After doing this, there is no guarantee that the Jenkins will be running successfully, right? But with the concept of containers, how to achieve this? Okay, so first, Jenkins application along with its dependencies, then that is called as the Docker image for that Jenkins. So that Docker image for the Jenkins has already been created by the Docker community. The Docker image is already created and stored in the hub.docker.com. Okay, and this is the Docker official image. So they wanted to use this Jenkins is the official image. Jenkins is the official image name. This is not the official image name. They have not. This is the official Docker image. So first, this is what? This is Jenkins application along with its dependencies. Jenkins application along with its dependencies, it is stored in some hub.docker.com. First, let's download this Docker image into our machine. How to do that? Docker full means download. Which image? Jenkins image. For official Jenkins image, Jenkins is the name. Or else, okay, or else we can use Docker search also. We will see that later. As of now, please remember that Jenkins is the official Docker image for Jenkins. Now, hit enter. What is saying? You don't worry about all these things. We will learn all these things in detail going forward. What we are doing? We are downloading the Jenkins application from hub.docker.com to our Docker host machine. Okay, to our Docker host machine. This is our instance. So we are downloading into our machine. What we are downloading? Are we downloading container? No, we are downloading Docker image. We are downloading Docker image. See, this is downloaded near image for Jenkins. This tag, don't worry about that. We will learn that. Now, how to check whether that is downloaded into our machine or not? Docker image ls. I want to list out all the images. See, Jenkins repository has been downloaded. The tag is latest. Latest means some version things. We will learn this. Some ID has been allocated to that. Okay, in order to distinguish between different images. Some random ID will be allocated to particular Docker images. See, this Docker image was created 6 days ago. That means it was updated 6 days ago. This is existing from the beginning of the Docker itself. So the size is 463 MB. Okay. Now, how to see the list of containers? Docker container ls or Docker ps command is also serve the same purpose. See, there are no containers. Please observe, we have a Docker image, but we don't have Docker containers, right? Docker containers. That's fine, right? It doesn't mean that once we install the Docker image, it doesn't mean that we should have already container. No. What we do, container is nothing but the running instance of the Docker image. What I said, we have to download this, we have to run this. How to do that? For that, Docker image ls, Docker run this image name, or more specifically image ID. Let's do this. Hit enter. What is happening? Container has been created from the Docker image. How it is created? It is created by running the Docker image. Okay, so if you install the Jenkins using non-dockerized things or using these steps, you will be getting the same output. Okay, so it will be telling that if you want to proceed with the Docker, you have to copy this password and paste it into the Jenkins homepage, right? Likewise, here, so this path has been given, we have to go inside the container, right? So that we will see later. Okay, our instance, we have seen yesterday we have access to the Jenkins also. See, now where the Jenkins is running? Jenkins is running in a container. Jenkins is running in a container. And for Jenkins, this container is running. This container is having its own JDK version, right? Let's suppose that we want to have another application. It is requiring another Java environment. Okay, what we can do in this container, the required Java will be there. Let's say Java 11 here, Java 8 here. Java 8 is running in this container. We can run another application or another application in a brand new container with its own Java. Java 11 here, Java 8 here. Okay, and these two applications are isolated. Why they are isolated? Because they are running in their own boxes called containers. It has its own Java, that is Java 8, where Jenkins is running. Let's say this is application B, which requires Java 11. It has its own Java 8 environment. How this is been created? Because Docker image is nothing but what? Application along with the dependencies. If you have another application with the different, which requires a different Java environment, yes, we can have that content with the different Java edition. Within the same machine, we are running 3 applications which have their different environment requirements, right? They are fully isolated from one from other. At the same time, they are sharing the system resources commonly, right? This is the point I wanted to tell you here, right? So Jenkins required one kind of Java. For example, if it is Linux machine, if you want to install a Jenkins, what you have to do, you should have a specific version of Java. If you want to install another application and that application is different Java, is that possible? I think no, right? But in the case of containers, it is possible. You can have 10 versions of Java, which are a requirement for the 10 applications. So you can have 10 containers with the different Java versions, right? That is the thing. Now let's exit from this. Control C. So this container will be exited. Now let's see Docker contain Docker PS command use. Please use the PS command. It will show only the running containers. If I click on Control C, what happened? The container exited. We will see how to push the container to the background so that we will be able to run other commands slowly going forward. Then Docker ps-a is another command which will show all the containers. All the containers, that means running as well as exited containers. See, Jenkins was exited 33 seconds ago. Why it was exited? Because I have applied Control C. I have interrupted the process. So Docker image will be there. Image will be still because we did not touch the image. Now, how to remove this container? How to remove this container? Before that, let's do one thing. How to download another image? Docker full Nginx. That Nginx should be present in the hub.docker.com already. Because I know that Nginx, most of the applications are already Dockerized. You can use them, you can customize them, We will see how to customize them. Nginx. So this is the Docker official image. We just have used the Docker full Nginx. See, Docker full Nginx. This Nginx application, which is in the form of Docker image, will be downloaded into our Docker host machine. Now, Docker image ls. See, Jenkins already there. We have downloaded the Nginx, right? Then the image ID is this one. How to run this? Again, Docker run image ID. There will be more options with the Docker command. We will be learning each option going forward, right? Finally, we will be in a position to create our own Docker images with our own application source code, right? This thing. Now, Docker run Nginx. We can use either the image name or the image ID. So earlier we have used the image name. Now let's use the image ID. See, the Nginx is now started to work. I want to execute other Docker commands. So how can I do that? First, I have to exit from this console log. See, process executed. Docker ps-a. So it is exited. Now, Docker, how to remove this exited containers? For that, Docker rm command is there. Docker rm. I want to remove the container. You can. These are the container names. You can give the names. We will learn that. These are the container IDs. So copy this container here. Docker rm. This ID. What will happen? This container is removed. Docker ps-a. So only Jenkins is there. Nginx is removed. Now let's remove this as well. For that, Docker rm. See, clear the screen. Docker ps-a. See, there are no stopped container. There are no running container. That is fine. Now Docker image ls. Okay, definitely these are using our system resources like disk space, right? So once the task with the Jenkins and Nginx image is over, we have to delete these images also. How to do that? Docker rmi. To remove the container, we have used rm. In order to remove the image, you have to use the rmi image name. Okay, this is one thing. See, remove image is removed. We will learn all these things. These are the layers. Docker rmi. This is now Docker image ls or Docker image is also fine. Both commands will serve the same purpose. We have listed out all these commands in our documentation. So we have seen, we have installed Docker in AWS EC2 instance in Ubuntu machine. After that, we have seen some commands and we will proceed tomorrow. Let me attend your questions first. Yeah, actually, few messages are there. Prabhakar is asking what is the course duration. I will tell you by end of this class. Can we see the Docker file in EC2 instance? Aditya, your question, can we see the Docker file? Docker file we did not create. We will create the Docker file. Aditya, I think please be patient. We will be learning everything. Okay, right? So we will create the Docker files and everything. So don't worry about that. An example, my client has mainframe based 75 core data processing happening in REST and distributed cloud, and they likely to have smart cloud with the business use case. We can do Docker to start use top up mainframe. Yes, we can Dockerize that application, Suresh. We can Dockerize them. We will see how to Dockerize the application. What we will do, we will take a base Ubuntu machine and we will Dockerize that. We will customize it. Aditya has many questions regarding the course. I will tell you. Sajid is telling, thanks for telling about MobileXterm. Okay, Sajid, that's fine. Please use. You can use Putty also, Aditya, but MobileXterm is very, very handy. AWS credential DURGASOFT provides. How can we get AWS credentials? Sujit, you should have your own AWS account, Sujit. Institute won't give you the AWS. Okay. Yeah, Manadip is asking libraries. Dependencies libraries means like OpenJDK and all those binaries files. For Hibernate lectures, when it starts, for instance, will work. I mean, Kubernetes lectures. Okay, for Kubernetes, we will be having Kubernetes cluster. Okay, we will learn that. We will learn it. Very premature to answer your question. Yes, somebody is having questions regarding the course duration and all those things. Let me briefly tell them. Course name you can call Docker and Kubernetes. Okay, duration is 45 days. 40 to 45 days it will take. Okay, class timings from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Okay, days, weekdays. Okay, weekdays only from Monday to Saturday. Monday to Saturday. Course fee, class duration 7 to 8 means that is 1 hour, right? So I don't need to explicitly write this. Course fee is okay 4,000 INR, and this time is also IST, guys, Indian Standard Time, right? That is UTC plus 5.3, 5.5, you can say that is 5 hours and 30 minutes. One or two people maybe from foreign countries, I'm seeing their names. Okay, for them I'm telling it is Indian Standard Time. So fee is 4,000 rupees. We will see the real time things only from basic whatever the commands we have executed. These commands also we will be using in the real time. Slowly, slowly we will develop to create our own Docker image, to create our own containers. We will see Kubernetes in Elastic Kubernetes service, which is a managed service. We will design our own Kubernetes clusters using KubeADM. And if we learn this Kubernetes class, we will also be eligible. We will also be able to write the certified Kubernetes administrator certificate also. That is highly demanding in the market. Okay, so in DevOps, this Docker and Kubernetes, we can say them as the heart of the DevOps. Okay, so with this course, so you will be having more weight. If you learn all other tools and if you don't learn Docker and Kubernetes, okay, your DevOps profile will not be that much, will not be having that much weight. Okay, this is the heart of DevOps. Other things, somebody is asking, Sujit, is are you having plan on Git and Jenkins? As of now, I don't have that plan, Sujit. I'm strictly confined to this Docker and Kubernetes as well, because these are very, very technology. Generally, this Docker and Kubernetes will be taught as part of the DevOps course. Okay. Okay. Thank you, guys. First, let me save the recording first so that it will be